Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Boku no Hero Academia, Season 3, Episode 4, and this, My Hero is the title. I was expecting it to be very good, and again, they blow away my expectations. I thought it was incredible. It's probably going to end up being one of the best episodes of anime that I've ever reviewed. I think the score I'm going to give it is maybe the third or fourth highest I've ever given anything in the 2 years now that I've been making videos. So yeah, it was incredible. It was really, really, really good. Before I get into it though, I am still sick, so sorry if that impedes me. My throat kind of hurts still. I've been coughing a bit, but if I do start coughing, I'll just cut it out or anything so you won't see it or hear it or anything. But yeah, so sorry if that makes me struggle through this video. Yeah, either way, let's just talk about the episode, and anything else I have to say I'll talk about at the end when we're done. So I love the way we start off with the flashbacks here, and we kind of wove that kind of thing, the story of Kota and his parents and the flashbacks with them. It happens 4 times maybe, I think, throughout the episode where we get into those scenes, and each time they're like evenly spaced apart throughout the entire episode. So I really like that, the way it was the episode story that weaved through all the other things they were doing, and all the continuity of the episode going from last episode to next episode works. But for the episode itself, without watching any others, it has this one continuous story, and they did the same thing last season with the flashbacks of Todoroki's past all throughout episode 10. So I like that they did that again, and this episode by itself told a really good story. And I like that in the flashbacks we do actually get to see the parents and what they looked like and stuff, because I feel like that adds a lot more emotion and emphasis to the scenes and how important they are, by instead of just showing faceless parents' corpses covered in sheets, we put a face to those people, and that kind of makes it in the human mind like, oh, that was an actual person. You put a face to that body, and it's not just a number anymore. So I thought that it was good that we actually got to see what the parents looked like and all of that. I thought the first half of the episode, and I guess they did it some in the second half too, now that I think back, but I thought they did a great job of hyping up all the villains early on, showing everything that they were doing. But we jumped to 5 minutes back early on in the episode to see the what I guess summer school hell group. Monoma, Kaminari, Sero, Kirishima, Ashido, and Sato. It was funny Monoma being the one failure from Class B, but still. They get left with Vlad as Aizawa runs out to help the students after they're all contacted by Mandalay's telepath. And I like the way that this was shown, the way we saw that you can't talk back to her via telepath. Telepath, she can just sort of broadcast her thoughts out there, and from what we see with her broadcasting to Kota, I guess she can just choose a certain area and broadcast out to that area looking for Kota. So we can assume that because what she said wasn't specifically targeted at Aizawa and Vlad, she was just saying, you know, all students get back to the place. It was like a big a human PA system, essentially, telling all the students out into the woods, do not fight, run back and get to the camp and hold up there. So Vlad goes to protect them. Aizawa says he's going to go protect them, presumably help them get back to the camp and find all of them. And then he seemingly gets just totally nailed with Dabi's flames. We don't know where that's going to go until next episode at least. But that's the way they kind of left us with that, cliffhung us there. Getting introduced to Spinner I thought was great. Spinner was a cool character. He gives this big speech trying to be very, very Stain-like. He already dresses like him, but he's like trying to give this big speech, talk about his ideals and how he's going to follow Stain's ideals. I love the way he mentions Ida specifically and brings him up. His weapon's ridiculous. It's like a sword made out of swords. But I think I don't know, I think it's great. I think it's hilarious. I don't know how practical or useful it is, or how it really works with his quirk. I have, of course, read the manga. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I guess I don't totally remember how well that works with his quirk or not. It's been a while. So yeah, the sword made out of swords is hilarious. Tiger is amazing. I love the speech that Tiger gives, like, you know, standing up for Pixie Bob, the way he the way he sort of is very protective of the other pussycats. I really, really like Tiger's character. I always have ever since the manga. But that was just a cool detail that I like, that he's saying that, sticking up for her. Like, even though she's at her age, she's trying to think about marriage. You can't hurt somebody's face like that. And I love how it added more into the wanting to be Stain character of Spinner, the way he replied when he was fighting, of why would a hero be caring about living a happy life like a normal person. So again, that adds more into Spinner's character. Mandalay then orders everybody to run that's there. Izuku, I like the way that he says, I know where he is, knowing that Mandalay's probably worried about Kota. Kota. I spelled it as Kota there. Sorry. Like, in my notes, sometimes I get Kota and Kota. I mix up the spelling of the names. But, so he runs after Kota. Then, after that, we see some of Class B's people. We see that Tetsu is still up, and he's carrying Shiozaki, who's been knocked out. He says that Momo is making gas masks, and Awase is guiding her to where all the other members of Class B are so that they can give them gas masks and help them evacuate. So again, now we're learning more about where all the characters are. We see that now Shiozaki and, what was the guy's name? Honanuki, they're both out. Kodai has the mask on, and I have no idea what her quirk is supposed to be or anything. But Tetsu says he's not going to run like Mandalay said to, because he sees that, well, first he says that he sees the difference between Class A and Class B, and that's that even though they've both been trained the same, they both passed the same exams, and they should be equal, there is one difference between them, and that one difference is that they've gone through crises and made those crises into their strengths. And then he goes on from that, saying something that I was just so hyped for Tetsu. I was so excited, because he was like, what kind of hero would run away from evildoers? And he says that he's going to go kick all their asses. So I'm hyped for Tetsu. He plans to fight back. I loved it. Then Mandalay contacts Kota, and I like this, the way that she's trying to contact him and try to comfort him and say, it's going to be okay, sorry I don't know where you are and all, but he is preoccupied by Muscular, big-ass villain just already imposing over him. Muscular mentions that Kota's not on a list, and that's brought up a couple more times throughout the episode, and they bring up each other's names and such, so they appear to know who the students and teachers there are. So either they've really done their research and have been scouting the place out. I'm not going to talk about the stupid there's a traitor somewhere theory, because I see so many people spend so much time talking about that they forget the actual important things that are going on. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm just going to say that they keep that possibility open there for us as an audience, that either there was a traitor or spy or something, or they have been somehow monitoring them. Then after that, Muscular's quirk in the anime, getting to see it when he first approaches Kota, it looks so cool. We get the reveal that he's the one that killed the water hose. Izuku jumps in to save Kota. His cell phone gets broken, and I like these little details throughout the episode where his cell phone gets broken at this point, so he's like, okay, that means that there's not going to be any reinforcements because I didn't tell anybody exactly where I was going. I like throughout the episode, they're like showing little things to tell us important things. That's an option that's off of Izuku's table. The option of holding him off and waiting until somebody else gets there is gone at this point. And they explain exactly why, so that you're not sitting there like, oh, when's somebody going to show up? And I believe that's when we get to commercial break. And then after commercial break, we have Todoroki and Bakugo, and they have Todoroki's carrying Subaraba, I think he was. He was the air guy from the cavalry battle, right? I believe that's him, so his name was Subaraba, I think. He seems to be unconscious, but he looked kind of like twitchy and sweating, so maybe it's not like totally gotten to him. Maybe he still is somewhat awake, but I think he's unconscious. They find the Gimp Suit villain, whose name I won't spoil or anything, and he has an arm with him. And they mentioned that Tokiyami and Shoji were the group that were up in front of them. So now we're left with next episode, the episode after that, whenever they get to that stuff. We know that those three characters are there. Well, the villain and the three characters there. They mentioned that Ragdoll is at the midway point, so now we know her location, and we know now that Tokiyami and Choji are somewhere, but missing a hand amongst them, presumably, from what we can see. Then Mandalay uses... I like to see Mandalay versus Spinner, but Mandalay using telepath in a combat situation. Because I always thought, that's a very support power. You can't really use that in a fight much or anything. But this kind of proved me wrong. This was really creative, and I didn't remember it or anything like that. But I thought that this was great, and this shows how Boku no Hero Academia gets really, really creative with people's powers. Because you would think, if you have the ability to broadcast stuff into other people's heads, when you're fighting somebody, constantly broadcast stuff into their head to throw them off and distract them, it can actually be really useful in a fight. It took a power that I wouldn't think of as being useful in a fight and really did make it combat ready. We have Magne versus Tiger as well, and I like the way that Tiger knows all of... knows like all this stuff about Magne, like all of her crimes in the past, and in addition to all of her crimes in the past and stuff, like her actual real name and stuff. So that's really important. So it seems like not only do they have info on the heroes can kind of tell who some of the villains are, maybe from their appearance or crimes or whatever, or the way they fight, the use of their quirks. Then we see that Ragdoll is missing, and there's blood at the halfway point that we saw earlier, so mystery there of what happened to her. Muscular then reveals to Izuku a lot of information. He says, you're actually on the list, Izuku Midoriya, I know your name and all, and we were ordered to just take the incentive upon ourselves and kill ya. So we know that Izuku in their orders is to be killed, and he mentions that he's looking for Bakugo, that he has to do his work even though he just wants to kill Izuku, so looking for Bakugo is apparently the work side of things. But he doesn't appear to know actually who Bakugo is or what he looks like. Maybe he might know what he looks like, maybe they saw pictures and that's how he could identify Izuku. But yeah, either way. So Izuku starts getting just absolutely beaten by Muscular, and it was great to build up the tension to show that Izuku was really overpowered here. He tries to use his 5% punch, nothing at all happens, just completely blocked. Kota distracts Muscular, and I like the speech he gave, both because it sort of lets Izuku know, oh, this is the guy that kills Kota's parents, to give him that information on screen and to sort of raise the stakes for him. But two, it works for Kota because it makes it even more brutal for him as a character, where he already has the sad backstory, but he's like, did you do this to my parents when you killed them too? And again, something that Boku no Hero Academia does really, really well is using villains to teach a lesson. We saw the immaturity with Shigaraki. We saw Stain and how he had good reasons and was able to teach some lessons to Ida and Izuku, but at the end of the day, both of them were like, or Ida's like, I could see how he could seem cool. There were things that he was right about, like needing to save people instead of using your quirk for yourself, but he went about using his power in just an evil, despicable way that was completely wrong. In Izuku, the same way, when he talked to Shigaraki, saying Stain had ideals and that sort of strength and fortitude, but at the same time, he went about it the wrong way, even if his goal wasn't so bad. So we have these lessons being taught by villains, and we kind of have another lesson that gets taught here by Muscular, where we have Muscular like, let's see, how do I word this? But he's like, I was just doing what I wanted, and that was to kill people. Your parents, the heroes, they were doing what they wanted, which was trying to stop me from killing people. And then he says what we see is the flaw for him as a villain, where he then goes into what's wrong about that is trying to do something you're incapable of doing. But the actual lesson to take with him being wrong is that there's nothing wrong with trying to do something that you can't do. The heroes tried to stop him, even if they couldn't. Trying to stop him was the right thing to do. So that, again, using a villain to teach a lesson is really, really cool. And he brings up, I don't have a grudge that they took my eye or whatever, and I have to use this prosthetic eye now because I was just doing what I wanted to do. And again, that sort of, in just one episode, we learned all this about Muscular. His entire character arc right here in one episode is pretty incredible, where we see when Izuku confronts him, he's like, all I want to do is be free, to spread my wings, to be able to use my power. And, in a conventional sense in society, he wouldn't be able to do any of that. And being a villain gives him freedom. It gives him the ability to use his power. We see that he is kind of just fucked up in the head because we've seen him in past episodes where he just wants to run out there and fight and attack everybody, and the rest of the villains are the ones that have to hold him back and be like, no, we're doing this for like a plan, for a reason. Then we have Izuku trying to he uses a 100% strike with All for One. It is not enough, but he breaks his arm in the process. All of that was really cool, showing even 100% isn't enough. That's when we get Muscular. After that attack is when he explains like what he wants to do and all that. Then we have the next part of this where Izuku tries to run for a second, but then he realizes, I can't run away, I'm not fast enough, he's faster than me. So we see again another bit of option cut off from Izuku, where he was like, I can't wait for help, now I can't run, the only thing I have left to do is fight, but I'm not sure if I can beat him in an actual fight. So what he says he has to do is, Kota, run, and when it hits, or Kota, stay back, when it hits, you just run. Basically showing, he's going to go for a sacrificial blow, really. So, really, really cool. We have an amazing clash. I was tearing up, and then I watched the episode like 2 or 3 more times, and I was still tearing up at that scene. It was so, so good. He uses the Delaware Detroit Smash, and defeats Muscular, and we get Kota realizing that he is my hero. So now we have Izuku as somebody else's hero, and Kota now has a hero that he looks up to and all that, and understands heroes maybe a bit more. For some explanations on stuff, because somehow some people didn't really get it. First, on the Delaware Detroit Smash, I believe the part of it, because I didn't notice it as much, I don't believe in the manga, but I noticed it here. When he says Delaware, he does like that with his hands, and Muscular's like muscle threads and fibers all rip away from him. So I think that was the Delaware part, was just the wind blast, and we've seen All Might use a wind blast like that before to send himself propelled backwards. And then the Detroit Smash was the actual punch that took down Muscular. So that was the explanation for that. And as for 1,000,000%, you can't just like, if I were to go and run a marathon and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go at 80%, now I'm going to go at 100%. That's not really how it works in real life. You can't just pick a number and say that's what you're going at. It was more just a figurative type of thing, where he's at 5% because he holds himself back to the most he can handle, and All Might's like, it's probably around 5%. So that's what the 5% means. It's not necessarily exactly 5%, it's just him holding himself back to what he can take. Then 100% isn't necessarily the absolute most he could possibly do, it's just him firing off a shot without holding back, because to him that'd be 100%. It's going to break his arm if he does it. But for 1,000,000%, it's more than just not holding back, but it's actively trying to do the absolute most you can with the power. It's actively trying to let that adrenaline rush take you, do the most you absolutely can. So it's not like literally 1,000,000%, it's figuratively 1,000,000%. It is everything he can do, not just not holding back, but pushing out everything he can. And then next episode we have the title, Drive It Home Iron Fist. So I am super, super excited because we have that Tetsu hype. I've been looking forward to some more of the storylines here for this arc. I'm so, so happy. Episode as a whole was amazing. The fight was really, really emotional, and that's what is done so well in this show, where there are a lot of cool fights that don't really mean anything in a lot of shows that I enjoy. But all the fights for Boku no Hero Academia, there's so much emotion and backstory and character work put into each of them, especially episodes 9 and 10 of last season, and now we have this here, where there's so much character work put into this fight. It is just so, so good. And it's character work for a lot of characters. Izuku, Muscular, Kota. But either way, animation was crazy, crazy good. It seemed like there were multiple new OST tracks. There were a lot that I didn't recognize that I thought were good. At least 3 or 4 that I didn't recognize. One close to the very beginning, at least. One at the end when he finally takes down Muscular. And then one at the very, very end when they're doing the My Hero scene. Also, there was a lot of important plot work that went in here. And some, like, I don't know, not really reveals. I guess reveals in that what they're looking for is Bakugo, apparently. But there's a lot of plot work in that we progressed all these different characters and not just had the one Izuku fight, but we had more on top of that. And when I think about it, this is just the first real fight this arc that we've seen. So there's still, we're only at episode 4 and we're getting this episode. So just imagine if we're 4 episodes in and this is the quality, what are they doing? Like, what kind of crazy stuff is coming for the rest of the season? I'm incredibly excited. Also, one thing I didn't bring up yet, the voice acting was incredible. It went beyond. Voice acting was plus ultra. It was so good. So yeah, that's it for my thoughts, I guess. And as a score, I usually go for the whole 1 to 10 scale, but occasionally there's like an episode of something that I'm like, oh man, I have to give, it's more than what I would normally say I'd give a 10 to, so I've got to go higher than that 10. And usually it's like maybe a 10.5 or something, and occasionally an 11. I'm going to give this probably like my 3rd or 4th highest score ever. I'm going to give it an 11.5 water hose out of 10. Yeah, 11.5. Because it was just so crazy. It was so far past what I would normally say, oh yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 episode. It was past what I would expect from an episode like that. Especially, like, I think I've maybe given something a 12 before, and I know for certain that there was one episode that just blew away all my expectations of anime episodes, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta give it a 14 out of 10, is I think what I decided on. So yeah, other than like those 2 scores, I think this might be the highest I've ever scored something. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so freaking good. And what I wanted to talk about at the end instead of at the beginning, yes, I know that the new manga chapter is out, but I have been feeling sick, and I was posting another video this morning, and I knew I wanted to do this anime review today after watching the episode. So I know the new manga chapter's out, I know One Piece is out, I've been spoiled on One Piece, which really sucks, but I'm going to do both of those videos tomorrow. So yeah, just tomorrow expect my 2 manga reactions. So yeah, that's it. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this episode and what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more Boku no Hero Academia, both anime and manga. I'll try to be not spoilery with the manga titles so that you don't really get spoiled even if you're an anime only watcher that watches my videos. But I have a lot of people that have watched and say they're anime-only watchers that haven't said I've spoiled them on anything, so that's good. It knows that at least I'm not doing anything too terribly wrong. But yeah, sorry, the whole spoiler topic's just been bothering me, because yeah, it was YouTube titles showing up last night that spoiled me on One Piece. So yeah, anything more that I'm missing here to say? Oh yeah, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk with me or more of us there about this and other stuff, just ask and I'll give you a link to that. Anyone's free for the Discord. So that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.